distinguished representative of Slovakia. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies. I would like to begin by thanking our Polish hosts for the principled and firm manner in which they have guided the organization through this very difficult year. This year's Ministerial Council takes place against the backdrop of unprecedented security crisis in the OSCE area, with a full-scale war being waged by one participating state against another. The urgency with which we meet today and tomorrow couldn't be more acute. We face the most serious challenge to the security architecture in Europe since the Helsinki Final Act was adopted. What is being done by Russia and Ukraine, with the complicity of Belarus, is a shameful war of aggression and a violation of all possible international norms and principles, in particular of the United Nations Charter and the OSCE principles and commitments, including the Helsinki Final Act. Russia's military aggression has deeply shaken the European security order and continues to cause large-scale destruction and immense human suffering. Thousands of innocent Ukrainian civilians have been killed. Millions had to leave their homes, triggering one of the largest refugee crises in Europe's history. We have witnessed attacks intentionally directed against civilians. This is inhuman, completely unacceptable, and unjustifiable. Such acts constitute war crimes. Slovakia supports the full use of all available international mechanisms, means and measures, including the immediate investigation of war crimes in Ukraine, to ensure accountability for the crimes and violations of international humanitarian law committed during Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Through the OSCE's Moscow mechanisms, we have been able to compile evidence, document valuable data, and establish unequivocally important facts. We call on the OSCE and its institutions to continue documenting Russia's atrocities in Ukraine, so there can be no impunity for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and other crimes. Slovakia is Ukraine's neighbor. Our own security is directly impacted by this unjustified war. We resolutely support Ukraine's inherent right to self-defense, which is in line with the international norms. We reaffirm our firm solidarity with the people of Ukraine and pay tribute to all those who have sacrificed their lives in defense of the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence of Ukraine. Looking ahead, it will be crucial to help Ukraine survive the coming winter and defend itself, while ensuring that Russia understands that it has already lost its battle. Only Ukrainian victory will bring us closer to long-term peace. More military support for Ukraine, more liberated territories and people, and more effective sanctions mean better prospects for peace diplomacy in the future. It's worth mentioning that the OSCE presence in Ukraine has been progressively removed by Russia's veto to the extension of the OSCE's field operations mandates in Ukraine, notably the Spatial Monitoring Mission and the Project Coordinator in Ukraine. We are therefore grateful to Chairmanship Office, Secretary General, for the new donor-funded support program for Ukraine launched in November. Slovakia will support this very timely program aimed at addressing some of the immediate challenges to civilians posed by the war and at reinforcing the long-term democratic and social resilience of Ukrainian institutions and civil society organizations. Slovakia also closely follows the situation in Belarus, and here I would like to congratulate people of Belarus for the Nobel Prize awarded to the human rights advocate Ales Bielatsky, together with the Russian human rights organization Memorial and Ukrainian Human Rights Center for Civil Liberties. Respect for human rights is a basic right of every human being to decent and normal living. But the regime has not followed even this call. Its repressions in the country are getting worse. Every simple voice of disagreement is strangled as extremist. Web pages and Telegram channels are closed. Books are being taken from the shelves of bookstores. People are sent to penal colonies where, if sentenced for political reasons, they are marked with a yellow triangle. There is an increasing number of documented cases of torture and ill treatment. I call on the Belarusian representatives here: stop political repressions, free political prisoners, and respect the rules of democracy and the commitments your country has voluntarily joined. Free and fair elections, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly are among those commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, the consequences of the war are felt across the whole OSCE region and have direct repercussions on this organization. Slovakia is worried about not adopting the OSCE unified budget for 2022. This has negative impact on the work of the OSCE and its field missions, and only worsens the difficult conditions under which our organization is currently operating. Given the urgent needs to address the ongoing and emerging challenges facing the OSCE region, this trend cannot be allowed to continue in 2023. Excellencies, dear colleagues, the OSCE was founded on the idea that the security of the Euro-Atlantic space should be anchored in the rules-based order. I believe that Helsinki Final Act, which has guided us for almost 50 years, must also guide any effort to rebuild stability in Europe with respect for territorial integrity, sovereignty, and freedom of choice with regard to the foreign policy and commitment to human rights. In concluding my speech, I would like to wish every success to the North Macedonia's OSCE chair next year, while assuring our friends in North Macedonia of the full support of Slovakia. Many thanks.
Thank you. I will now pass the floor to